Professor Judge, thinking about our conversation today and thinking about the journey or the adventure of lifelong learning as an ancient historian, as a student, as a teacher, can you tell us a story about your journey, about your time that you've never told anyone before, or something that we wouldn't necessarily know about Edwin Judge?
Yes, well, the first time I became an ancient history teacher, as opposed to a student, and ancient history,
yes,
as opposed to language, was at the University of Sydney in 1956,
okay,
when I had been appointed, and I had to start teaching alone with no assistant at the first working day after I got off the ship.
Oh my goodness!
And so I prepared for it on the ship, and when I left England, where I'd been studying, Alex MacDonald, who had done the ancient history job at Sydney in a previous generation and was a New Zealander, said to me, "You don't have to worry about the lectures in Sydney." It was a single first-year course covering the whole of ancient history from primeval slime to Columbus crossing the ocean blue.
Wow.
And he said, "Don't worry about it, just use your Cambridge jokes," meaning funny things I'd heard said in lectures at Cambridge. Well, I tried that, but always at Sydney, these were F.E. Adcock's jokes, which were very, very witty. And I did have notes for them, and I'd written down, fancy writing down his jokes. And anyway, I remembered and would trot them out at Sydney, and I was booed.
Oh,
there was a class of 500 students in the Wallace Theatre at Sydney.
Okay.
I was booed more than I like to remember, I don't know how many times, but I enjoyed that. I had never before faced a class which actually reacted to what I was saying. That was tremendous. Reaction is absolutely fundamental to learning. Booing is excellent because it alerts everyone. You can't sleep when the theatre's in a rage.
Yeah, stirring up emotion.
And I never knew whether they hated me or what, but it was great fun. I was teaching things that I'd never studied before, over a huge swathe of history.
Okay.
And on the boat, before I caught the boat in England, I bought up a series of French high-level guides to the problems of history, epoch after epoch.
Oh, wow.
So that at least if I was cribbing from somewhere, I would at least be translating it. And I wasn't in any case translating it, but it was a guide to what the reigning issues in history were in the different periods. And when I got to Sydney, everyone said to me, "Oh, you ought to use MacDonald's notes." MacDonald's notes had been circulated in cyclist style and were used in the secondary schools, and everybody had MacDonald's notes. And I dug in against this. I admired MacDonald, and I said, "I'm not going to use his notes, I'll do my own stuff."
Okay.
And so I worked away at it, and time moved on, and the syllabus became much more specialised, and we're no longer teaching that broad swathe. I was one of the last to teach the whole of history in one go in ancient history. And eventually, decades later, I picked up a copy of MacDonald's notes, and to my great surprise, they were virtually identical with what I had been doing. In other words, he had used the same sources that I had used, and had prepared a very high quality, I might say, set of well guided by the French authorities.
You had it all in one.
But I still don't know what was at the heart of the booing. It wasn't hatred, but one day they brought me a new tie. They didn't like me coming in the same tie every day. And even to this day, I put on a different tie. I've only a few ties, but I changed them in honour of the students who booed me.
Oh, isn't that brilliant?
They also gave me a devastating nickname, which I'm not going to tell you.
Oh.
And
you sure you can't?
Well, I've never revealed this to anyone, even in private. But,
okay.
But, well, here you go. I was called Fishbone.
Fishbones?
That's right.
And why was that?
That was a good historic reason. Because you see, I had to teach the divided empire in late antiquity. And as you know, you have so-called emperors in the East and emperors in the West.
Yes. And
so I would draw a line on the blackboard. That was all we had. And then I would stick to one side lines at the right dates with the emperor names of the Eastern emperors, and lines on the other side with the Western emperors, and they called them Fishbones.
Oh, isn't that brilliant?
That was my name.
A moniker from the visual learners.
That was the sort of study aid we had. those days in
Oh.
the pre-electronic era.
Mm.
But it worked.
Indeed it did, and I'm sure they remember it.
I remember the name, I expect.
Well, at least. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. It's a beautiful memory. And
the give and take is the essential thing.
Yeah.
Give and take is at the heart of learning. We're all students.
Absolutely.
It's not teachers laying it down to the passive audience.
Yes.
There's got to be reaction.
Dynamic.
And even though I lecture and everybody sits in dumb silence, there is in fact give and take. If they've got a handout, and all you have to say if you're a teacher, for example, is point 2, and then all of a sudden they wake up and set to work on point 2. That's give and take. Pretty crude, but the minds must be at work between the teacher and the listener.
It's an exchange.
Otherwise, nothing's happening. And I don't know about you, but if I fall asleep,
if you're not engaged,
if I'm not,
absolutely.
Even if I want to concentrate, I fall asleep.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so you've got to have events really, and something. Even in a formal situation, you've got to have triggers and things to get people to refocus.
Indeed. Well, talking about conversations in the past, this has been a delightful conversation in the present, and I simply can't thank you enough for your time this afternoon, Professor Judge. It's been an absolute delight and a privilege to record you for the world and for time immemorial.
Well, all the best to the rest of the world anyway.
Thank you, and please, if you would do us the great honour of, as our patron, declaring television open.
Oh, I do indeed. It is wide open. Open is a key word.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Professor.